Right now, if the temperature outside dropped to 20 degrees Fahrenheit and stayed there for a week straight, you'd survive without thinking twice about it. A jacket, a heater, a door that shuts. You wouldn't even notice you were being protected. But strip all of that away, no heating, no synthetic insulation, no walls built by a machine, and cold becomes one of the fastest ways a human being can die. Hypothermia doesn't take days, it can take hours. And yet, hundreds of thousands of years ago, humans were already surviving in some of the harshest cold on the planet, not by accident. By figuring it out, piece by piece, long before anyone wrote anything down. So how did they actually do it? Start with the body itself. Humans are, biologically, tropical animals. Bare skin, no thick fur, no blubber. Every other large mammal built for the cold, mammoths, woolly rhinos, Arctic foxes, came with built-in insulation. We didn't. Neanderthals got the closest thing to a natural advantage. Researchers modeling ancient skeletons found their broad, high-bridged noses were shaped to warm and humidify freezing air before it ever reached the lungs, a built-in air conditioner, running in reverse. But even that wasn't enough on its own. So Neanderthals, and the humans who came after them, had to build their way out of the problem instead. Around 400,000 years ago, in what's now northwestern Europe, early humans were already using something specific, bare hides. A study published in the Journal of Human Evolution found evidence of this practice spanning 300,000 years, the oldest known example of humans using bare resources anywhere in the world. Think about that number for a second. 300,000 years of the same solution, passed down long before language could have explained why it worked. Around that same era, on a beach in what's now France, archaeologists uncovered the earliest known human shelters, built by an early human species, likely Homo heidelbergensis. One of these structures stretched close to 30 feet long, not a cave, not a hole in the ground. An actual built structure, engineered on purpose. That destroys the popular image of the caveman living deep underground. In reality, humans mostly used rock shelters, depressions cut into cliffsides and riverbanks, and then modified them. Hides draped over the entrance to block wind. Fires built just inside the opening. A microclimate, engineered from nothing. And staying warm was only half the fight. Staying fed through a frozen winter was the other. At Qesem Cave in Israel, evidence dating back 420,000 years shows humans wrapping bone marrow in skins and storing it for delayed eating, sometimes holding onto bones for up to 9 weeks before finally cracking them open. That's not a snack. That's a survival calendar, planned out in advance, because once the ground froze and the animals moved on, there was no guarantee of a next meal. Now fast forward. Around 45,000 years ago, humans started migrating into far colder, northern climates for the first time, and their clothing at that point was still simple, loose hides, draped over the body. Functional, but not fitted. Those same hides doubled as sleeping bags, baby carriers, even hand protection for chipping stone. It worked, but it wasn't enough for what came next, because around 30,000 years ago, humans invented something that changed everything. The needle, a tiny sliver of carved bone, sharpened to a point, with a hole for thread. The archaeologist Brian Fagan has called it one of the most important inventions in human history. And here's why. A drape hide keeps you covered. A sewn hide keeps you sealed. Suddenly, humans could layer multiple skins, reindeer, wolf, Arctic hare, into tailored, fitted clothing that actually trapped body heat instead of just blocking wind. By around 24,000 years ago, in what's now Russia, carved sculptures show people wearing clothing that looks strikingly like a modern tailored parka. Not a costume. A real, functional cold weather system, sewn by hand, thousands of years before anyone had ever seen a zipper. And it wasn't just about staying warm outside the shelter. Fire had to survive too. Evidence shows Ice Age humans carried embers with them when they moved camp, and stored dry fuel indoors specifically so a fire could be relit fast, even in a blizzard. Losing your only flame in the middle of an Ice Age winter wasn't an inconvenience. It could be a death sentence. Food mattered just as much. Humans learned to store bone marrow wrapped in skins for weeks at a time, and some evidence even suggests they submerged meat in cold ponds to slow decay, an early refrigerator, built entirely out of water and instinct. So picture the full system working together. A rock shelter, modified and weatherproofed. A fire, tended constantly, embers carried like currency. Tailored, layered clothing, sewn by hand with a bone needle. Stored food, preserved through cold rather than destroyed by it. None of that happened by luck. Every piece was a solution to a problem that could kill you in a single night if you got it wrong. So here's the full timeline. 400,000 years ago, humans were already wearing bear hides and building actual shelters on open beaches. 45,000 years ago, they were migrating into brutal northern cold with nothing but loose, drape hides. 30,000 years ago, the needle changed everything, turning hides into fitted, sealed clothing. And by 24,000 years ago, they were sewing something that looked a lot like the coat hanging in your closet right now. Next time you complain about the cold on your walk to the car, remember this: the only reason you get to complain instead of actually risk dying is because someone, tens of thousands of years before you were born, figured out how to turn animal skin and bone into a coat good enough to survive an ice age. You're not wearing a jacket. You're wearing 30,000 years of trial and error. If you want to dig deeper into any of this, all the research is linked down in the description.